You're listening to the World FootyNet podcast. Welcome to the World FootyNet podcast. You can email us at podcast@worldfooty.net or alternatively, post your comments on the World FootyNet Facebook page.
Hello, everyone. This is Dre Footy from WFN Weekly Podcast, and today I'm happy to bring back Jason Longshore from Soccer in the Streets to talk about another team he's involved in here in Atlanta, USA. Jason, how are you today?
Hey, doing good. How are you?
Great, great. Well, a lot's happened since the last time we had you on the show. In a previous episode, we spoke about the fine work you're doing at Soccer in the Streets to help and educate the youth of the community using soccer as a tool. But today, I wanted to talk to you about another soccer endeavor you're connected with concerning the NPSL team here in Atlanta. Can you tell us a little about this and a little of the history behind the team?
Yeah, I'm the operations director with the Atlanta Silverbacks Reserves of the NPSL. This is our fifth season, second season partnering with the Silverbacks. We originally started in 2008 as an independent team in the NPSL called Atlanta FC. We were actually with the first group that started NPSL in the South. Along with Andy Zorovich in Huntsville with Rocket City United. And that first year we had a team from Greenville, South Carolina. And the three of us all wanted to do something more than we were doing in the local leagues. And NPSL had a national model that was a good fit, very cost effective. And we jumped in that first year. And actually Atlanta FC won the first NPSL South region. And
Okay.
we qualified for the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup in 2009 and have been producing quite a few players for the professional ranks, both here in the U.S. and abroad.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as your involvement as the operations director there, how did that come about? What are your responsibilities in connection with the team?
Kind of what started it was our program director with Soccer in the Streets, Ricardo Montoya, is one of the most talented coaches here in the city.
Yes.
And he was working with the League of Lawrenceville, which was one of the top Latino leagues here in town, and took a U23 team, U23 All-Star team from that league and entered them into the United States Adult Soccer Association, USASA, in their National Cup Series. And this was in 2007. And that team won the region and qualified for the Nationals, only the second team from Georgia to do that. And we made it. I started helping Ricardo out with all of the off the field admin type of work with registrations and travel plans and all of the odds and ends that go into a team like this, just so he could focus on the field. That 2007 team made it to the national championship game. We beat the U23 team from the famous Scott Gallagher Club in St. Louis and lost to Oregon United in that national final. And this was a group of guys who, had, I think one or two of them had played at high-level youth clubs. There were, two or three who were playing in college at the time. It was definitely a group of guys who had been overlooked by the American soccer community. And, going up against these guys from St. Louis and the guys from Oregon who, were all D1 NCAA players was quite an interesting journey. And going into 2008 when the NPSL was starting in the Southeast, it was a good fit because we wanted to keep that going, and these guys still needed that outlet to be noticed and to be seen and to have those opportunities.
Well, that's very interesting, and that actually answered a question I had about Coach Ricardo Montoya. And with the players, the way that you're able to get players, is that how you've built the team? Is it through Coach Montoya and the resources he had before the team was formed, and it's just sort of a natural progression from there, or is there a connection with anything else?
It's Ricardo. It's
Hmm.
Ricardo and his staff. Our assistant coach Alejandro Pombo has been with us from the beginning as well.
Okay.
And those guys work extremely hard in scouting. They find a lot of these diamonds in the rough, kids that just, are great players and just need that extra push or that extra bit of polish to move on to the next level. And that's something that Ricardo really excels at is advancing guys up the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I really wanted to feature here is that, players that can't, maybe they don't have the resources to get to some of the elite youth clubs and move their way up that way. There are avenues for them here in the States, and this is a good example of that. And
It's definitely changing.
mhm,
Even 10 years ago, there really weren't as many avenues. But I think NPSL is definitely an avenue that's starting to grow and grow. You're seeing more
mhm,
guys go out of NPSL and join NASL and MLS clubs even.
mhm,
Um, it's happening more and more. I think, because you're starting to see NPSL clubs especially, not solely look at D1 college guys.
mhm.
There is quality in Division One NCAA for sure, but there's
Sure.
also a lot of quality below that, and
Mhm.
the guys below that are often the ones who don't have that player resume that some of the old school coaches are looking for. They didn't
Right.
play, Classic One. They didn't play in the Region Three Premier League. They didn't, win state cups and be on ODP teams. They're guys who didn't have those opportunities.
Mhm.
A lot of those things are very political, and if you don't have the connections, you can get left out. But luckily, there's more and more avenues for guys to be seen.
Yeah, and to the audience out there, that's a reason why you need to support a club like this. The talent that's there, just because it's not as glamorous, so to speak, as the NESL or other parallel type leagues that are dotted around the country, you do have quality there.
Oh yeah.
And we see that with the performance of the team so far. And getting into that this season so far, how are things going? And what's your outlook as the season goes on?
It's been a great season so far. We're in I think a very unique position in the NPSL where we're a reserve team for a professional team. So, we have two goals, not just to win trophies and win games, but also to develop players for the next level.
Hmm.
Um, Luckily, for us, when we're, you know, preparing guys in the right way for the next level, we're getting the results that we want out of that as well. The team this year is one of the best that we've ever had. There's a lot of talent in this group, and a lot of guys who I think we will see at the next level, either with the Silverbacks or with even teams higher up the ladder than that. There's guys like Chris Clute, one of our outside backs, number 4, who
Hmm.
he spent time in the US U17 national team pool.
Okay.
Um, Guys like Ramiro Canovas, our captain, who's been with
Hmm.
us from the beginning. Um, a guy who can play almost anywhere on the field. Was a all conference guy at Mercer, and has experience coming up in Argentina
Hmm.
with the professional youth clubs there. A lot of players from local schools. A lot of players from Clayton State, Southern Poly, Georgia Perimeter, guys who you might not know on a national scale yet, but had that opportunity to keep moving up. And then we have guys like Junior Sandoval, who's been there
Hmm.
before,
Hmm.
and is now has come back to better prepare himself for the next step. Um, Junior is in kind of a tricky situation with he counts as an international player, and with limited amount of international player slots at the NASL level, it makes it harder for him to find the right fit.
Right.
And we were really happy to bring him back, to keep him kind of in the window and to be seen and to continue his development. It's definitely been, Junior was, just for history, if you don't know, Junior actually played with Atlanta FC in the first 2 years of the franchise. He played in the Open Cup game against Charleston Battery, and he played with us in 2008 when he was 17 years old. We've known him since he was a kid, and it's been great to see him this year, especially, really put everything together. He's such a complete player at this point. And the things that we've talked to him about, that he needs to work on, he needs to improve to be a force at the next level, he's worked extremely hard on. And those things are some of his strengths now.
Yeah, and we've had Junior on the show before. He did touch on his time with Atlanta FC back when he was very young, and I get the sense that with his personality, his work ethic, you're starting to see that, or we as fans are starting to see that, translate to quality on the pitch, and it's really good to see his development with the reserves there. And just another note on your captain, Ramiro Canavas. Here's another player from the ADSL, the Adult Amateur League here, which shows that the possibilities from wherever if you have quality, whether you have a college background or not, you can make a name for yourself in this league, and for this team. And that possibility and those opportunities is really refreshing to see, and that's why I'm really, really excited about what you guys are doing there. And just a couple of more questions for you before we let you go. And getting over to the fans, we were touching on that. The crowds haven't been as I guess promising as we would like them to be there. What kind of value do you see for your team if the fans do come out to support the club, and what benefit can the fans get from coming to watch your team play?
Yeah, I totally understand that it's difficult where we're at in the food chain, really, in sports, especially in Atlanta, in a city like Atlanta. It's hard to compare ourselves to another team in our league like Chattanooga, who is in a smaller town and is one of the big teams in town, and they draw accordingly.
Yeah, not a lot of competition for what they put out there on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, the Silverbacks are a minor league team in a major league city, and we're an even more minor league team of the minor league team. So it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. The thing that I'll say to soccer fans out there who maybe haven't come out to a reserves game is, for me, one of the things that I've always liked about watching, and this is for any sport, but soccer in particular, is watching guys as they develop and watching them before they hit it big. Same thing with music. I mean, I'm a big music fan, and I love going to a concert, and then, a year later, that band is playing at Phillips Arena or, Lakewood, and I saw them at a small club.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see somebody before they hit it big, as they're still learning and they're still growing. For us, that's what we like to feature, and we stress an attacking style, a fun style for the fans to watch. We're not going to play for draws. We're not going to play, a bunker mentality. We're going to play to win, and we're going to play to entertain. And that's always been, Ricardo's philosophy, which I fully support. That's the type of soccer I enjoy. It's also a great chance for families to come out, because we offer free tickets for kids in their youth soccer uniforms. All they have to do is show up, and beyond that, for adults, it's $5. It's a great way to be introduced. Value. Yeah, and the way we look at it as the connection with the Silverbacks is it's a great way to be introduced to the club. If you don't have the money to bring your family of four out to a Silverbacks game, come to a reserves game and come see the kids as they move up. And what often happens is you start to develop a connection. You watch a guy like Chris Clute, or you watch a guy, like Josie Portillo or Johnny Rivera, guys who have the potential to move up to the first team, and you make that connection with them with the reserves. And then when they do get promoted, then you go watch them with the first team, and you're a fan of the club.
Right.
And that's our goal, is to develop everything for the club, because the reserve team can't operate in a vacuum. It doesn't work that way. It's definitely been a huge benefit for us to have the partnership with the Silverbacks, because we're getting a higher caliber of player. For one, players are seeking us out because they see that connection, and they see guys like Eric Ati, who was our starting goalkeeper last year, who is now with the pro team. A guy like Borfer Carr, who trained with us all last year, who's now with the first team. They see those things happen, and that's where the players who are serious about developing as professionals, that's what motivates them. They want that opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, all good points. And to the fans out there, to come out to the park, it's a beautiful facility, very comfortable for the fans, great parking, nice concessions there. It really is a great value, of great family value for a sporting event. At a very high quality. And so, we're going to continue to feature the team with video, more interviews like on this podcast segment, and, take a chance and come out and enjoy. You might like what you see out there. But let me ask you this, Jason, if fans want to find out more about the team, and we will be featuring them, of course, but is there anywhere they can go online to find out a little bit more about them, maybe the team site?
Yeah, there's a few spots on AtlantaSilverbacks.com. The reserves have their own page based there with recaps of the games and features on individual players. We're also on Facebook. If you search Atlanta Silverbacks Reserves, we're there. You can follow on Twitter at Reserves Game Day. And most games are live tweeted there. Some of our road games are a little trickier to do, but we'll, at the very least, send the links out to the home team, who has staff there tweeting. The next 2 weeks, we're actually on the road. We're in Jacksonville this weekend, and we're in Myrtle Beach the following weekend. So the best place to follow along is going to be on Twitter.
Okay, great deal. Well, Jason, that's all the time we have for this segment. I want to thank you for your time today, and for the detailed introduction to the Atlanta Silverbacks Reserve Squad. And we look forward to having you back on the podcast, as well as maybe some of the players and other officials when they have a chance to come on and get to know the fans.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to do that.
Okay, great. Well, have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
WFN would like to thank Jason Longshore for spending time with us to update us on the Atlanta Silverbacks Reserve Squad and the NPSL. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll hand it over to Andre Sherrard and Company as they review some domestic footy topics involving the U.S. men's national team and Major League Soccer.
Hello. Are you ready for a custom home theater or whole house media system? How about IP video surveillance, home lighting control, or whole house automation to simplify your life? Welcome to Atlanta Audio Consultants, your one-stop shop for professional, state-of-the-art home electronics design and installation. We're licensed, insured, and certified by a number of professional organizations, including CEDIA, so you know you're working with home technology specialists. And you know you can depend on us since we've earned the highest rating from the Better Business Bureau. We guarantee our work and are very proud to share our customer references with you. Explore our solutions here online. View the functionality and beauty of our work in our portfolio. Read what our customers say about us. Then call or click Contact Us to learn more. And schedule an in-home consultation today.
Atlanta Audio Consultants. Home theater, home automation, and lighting control. All at the touch of a button. Call 770-977-9110.
If someone's trying to look up your business on the internet, will they find you? Or are you still without a website? Let cmather.com get your business website up and running so your customers can find you. cmather.com can even maintain your current site. It's so easy and it won't break your budget. See the amazing deals for yourself at cmather.com. The letter C, mather.com, or call 1300 628 437. cmather.com.
Welcome to the World Footy Net podcast. This is episode 44. I am your moderator for tonight, Andre Sherrard, and you can follow me on Twitter at AHT4005. And we have three special co-hosts with us today. The engineer / founder of World Footy Net, Dre Footy. Dre, how are you doing today?
Doing really good, Sherrard. I am Dre Footy, of course, and you can follow me on Twitter as well out there. And we're going to try to talk about a little bit of the domestic game here from the North American sector.
Thank you. And second co-host we have here from Alaska, Davin Lassiter. How are you doing, Davin?
Hey, not doing too bad. A little bit warmer here this week, so it's always a good thing.
Nice. Nice. Thirdly, the moderator for the international podcast and self-proclaimed MLS hater, Hooligan Broom. Hooligan, how you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm Hooligan Broom, and you can follow me on Twitter at Hooligan Broom.
All right, let's get this started. We're going to start with the U.S. national team, and then we're going to get to the MLS. I'm not going to lie, I've been under a rock. The first game I couldn't watch because my cable was out, and it was out until the game was over, so I couldn't really watch that game. And the second game, the game was kind of boring to me, so I went and got a burger and enjoyed my night and went on from there. I heard we got 4 points out of these two games, these two qualifying games. We beat Antigua and Barbuda 3-1, and we drew on the road against Guatemala. Dre, I will start with you first. How do you think our performance was during these two matches?
Yeah, and this is something I guess a lot of fans of the U.S. national team were kind of disappointed in the display. But I know that everybody wants the U.S. to blow out the opposition. But realistically, everyone has to understand how difficult it is to play a footballing nation that's really, really up for the game, really up to play the U.S. And couple that with playing away from home in the case of Guatemala, which is a very hostile environment. And you also don't have a settled side yet. So with all of those things in consideration, I think you have to understand it was going to be a difficult time. But having said that, I'm patient enough to realize the improvements are there. The United States are in a good position. It'll only get better from here on. I have faith in Klinsmann. And I do think they need to utilize more of the foreign-based players for now, because they're not distracted by a domestic league like the MLS players. Plus, they have more experience. And so the important thing that I think this stresses is to make sure that they qualify, and having the right personnel is important. But all in all, I'm pleased so far with the knowledge that the team they're really playing well. They're creating chances, strong in defense, and they're getting results. And I think that's going to improve from here on out.
Yeah, definitely. Playing in Central America for the U.S. is always a tough battle for them. So, I mean, we should have probably got 3 points, but getting a point, and that'll work for now. Davin, what are your thoughts on these performances?
Yeah, I did get to watch both games. I have pretty much the same grades for both, so I'll just kind of talk about them both at once. Phrase that kept coming to mind with me in both of these games was goal mouth scramble. We did score 3 against Antigua and Barbuda, but they were hard to come by. It was always off a deflected shot or a parry from the goalkeeper and just scoring off the goal line. Gomez had a wide open net after the goalkeeper made a save and wasn't able to cover. Of course, Bocanegra scored early on right inside the post after another bottle from the defense. We got the points, but I just felt like maybe we just have to work a little too hard considering some of the talent that we have. I mean, consider especially with Antigua and Barbuda, where I think about 7 of the starting lineup play for a team in USL 3. So,
Yes.
Not that we have guys exactly playing for some of the Barcelonas and the Chelseas, but I think generally, and not just on paper, we should be not struggling so hard against some of these teams. Even though you all made a good point about playing in CONCACAF, you do have those hostile environments, and I think we've always been a team that's had some issues maybe dealing with that hostility. When you go down there, teams that maybe don't match up all the time with us as far as certain players' skill in certain positions and such, but I think that we have a tendency to get kind of like knocked off our game easily by a hard foul or a shirt tug here and that sort of thing. But I do think we're improving. And the other thing that worries me is that we're still tinkering during qualifying. And I imagine that has to affect the team as well when you don't know from day to day how you're going to come out and what's going to be the final solution. If you don't have that final formula or whatnot ready when you're going into games, like you're still a team, and I guess the word would be transition, and you're still trying to figure out what's going on, but you don't really have that time anymore you don't have that time to make mistakes because you're in the real deal now, and if you make too many mistakes, you risk not qualifying. So, both games, if I have to give a letter grade, I'd give them probably both about a C, because they crept and crawled to get the 3 goals in the first game, and I kind of give Fabian Johnson a reprieve this time because he's probably not as familiar with Carlos Ruiz as most American fans are. So, you can't really put an arm up or an elbow up anywhere around that guy. So, but credit to Marco Papa, too, for Guatemala. Played really well coming down both sides, and the free kick was great. But, maybe somebody more familiar with Ruiz would have, played him a little more carefully. But, 4 points out of 2 games is a good result.
Yeah, Marco Papa was taught from that free kick the MLS style the way to hit a free kick. and to be fair with Fabian Johnson, he did get turned around a lot, but he has been suffering injuries that he missed. I think he missed Canada, and I think he missed the Antigua Barbuda game. So right. I will give him a little, like you said, I'll give him a little reprieve on that. Hooligan, you got anything for these matches?
I saw the highlights of Antigua Barbuda, saw a little bit of Guatemala. I think what everyone has to remember before they start screaming at Klinsmann is Klinsmann is European. He has a football mind. It's all he's known. So he's coming in, and I think he's really shaken up what the U.S. players have been used to. So they're having to adjust to pretty much a whole new system and a whole new train of thought from their manager. With that said, come 2014, I don't think we're going to have a completely different team, but we're going to have a lot of new faces in there. I think at this point, he's just trying to get through these early matches and maybe be out there and identify some other talent he wants to use. I mean, I don't see Donovan being a starter at the 2014 Cup. I see him maybe being like a 60th minute super sub type deal.
Do you really think that his ego would take that?
Well, if it won't, he won't go at all.
Okay.
Klinsmann's not going to put up with any of that crap.
Yeah, wasn't he benched a couple times during the end of the Bradley era also? Maybe during the Gold Cup. So
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And he was not happy about that.
Yeah, but Klinsmann's really not going to put up with it. He's going to demand they play as a team. No one person, makes the whole team, and that's Klinsmann's philosophy. I mean, we it's not like we have a Maradona to where you make the team around one player and go give this guy the ball because he's going to put it in the net 8 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. Everyone's just there to help him. We don't have that situation. We have to play as a unit moving forward, play as a unit defending. We have to. And at the end of the day, people with their expectations, look, we're, as far as the footy goes, we're a third world nation. We're just not that good, all said and done. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that we have to work a little harder to achieve results. And if we don't have footballers that are willing to do that, well, you need to move them on and find some others that are willing to work for it. I'm not mad about these results. I mean, I'm not going to grade it real high and say that I'm ecstatic about it, but I'm not unhappy either. I think we're plugging along all right. People just expect us to blow these, what the American ego sees as, these little backwater countries, expects us to blow them out. And, like has been said, they're footballing nations. That's their sport of choice. So they grow up with it. They learn the mindset of it at an early age. So, I don't think it's disastrous or anything like that.
Yeah, I definitely seeing that Clint Dempsey should be more the focus of this team instead of Donovan. You kind of got to just slide him off a little bit because, he's not as effective. He's somewhat effective, but he's not as effective as he was when he was younger. So I think that we should probably start thinking about having this team revolve around Dempsey and some of the other players like Bradley and all that.
Oh, Bradley's played spectacular.
Yeah, it's actually past time to have another focus. I mean, Dempsey has been over in England for a few years now, and he's been doing well. So, but when you have a country that's used to having their stars in their own country, I think that's difficult to do. And I actually have heard people in the media say, "How can he be the face of American soccer when he doesn't play in America?" But
he's an American.
Right. That's what you and I will say. But,
yeah,
when people
the press
are used
is.
to, right, when there's, when nobody can name a gridiron football team in London or, Munich, then, it becomes a very, we're very centered on ourselves over here. So.
Yeah, they don't have a point of reference.
Exactly.
So that it's such a foreign thing to them, the sport itself, and it's just unfortunate. That's why we're here, to try to educate not only them, but just to give those people that follow the game, some interesting conversation instead of saying, asking questions, how can this person be the face of America if he plays in England? Very easy. It's a world game, and Americans are everywhere. And so, it's really sad that it's still that backwards to the mainstream sports media.
And even especially when soccer players are known as it's never just playing for one team. You played for Chelsea and England, or Manchester United and Brazil, or whatever it is. It's always two teams. So.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to the MLS. Let's have a moment of silence for Aaron Venter. Anyway, him and Peter Novak
That's cold.
finally got fired from their positions these past 2 weeks. Both teams were close to last in the Eastern Conference, so these moves seem very inevitable. I will start with you, Davin. Do you think it was a right move to fire them right now?
Yeah, in both cases, Venter and Peter Nowak, definitely. 1-9-0. I think you have to have more than 3 points after 10 games in any situation. I'm thankful that the home team got to witness that one win at least. So that's the silver lining. So, and then just in both situations, there's also a question with good players leaving, and these guys they're fan favorites, good players. In the case of Toronto, their most two recent and significant departures were Maicon Santos and Jordan De Zario. But when you look at what happened, of course, His departure was basically based on not feeling like he was being compensated well enough for what he did. And I think personally he had a good argument. Venter didn't say much about it besides that they had a good deal rejected. But De Rosario left in exchange for Tony Chani, Danley Borman, and a first-round draft pick. And just for me, I just feel like if you have to leave, you couldn't get better for probably one of the best 5 players in league history. So I just think he had to have had some sort of influence or should have done something that either you keep the guy there or you get more than those 3 guys. Because, I mean, Chani, 10, if you would have gotten 30 of those 3 I just named and gave them to Toronto for Daylor, you might get the effectiveness that Daylor's done. He's won championships in San Jose, definitely Houston. After being on 3 teams, he still ended up league MVP. You don't part with that kind of quality that easily. His behavior could not have brought down his asking price that much. I don't care. And we do know Daylor has a reputation for being unhappy a whole lot as far as pay. And then the other thing is Maicon Santos playing in the midfield of a 4-3-3. He leaves Toronto, and he's now tied for 3rd in the league, playing for DC, and he's playing as a forward, which is probably his natural position. So, you have this pattern of continuing to do poorly while your former players are continuing to flourish elsewhere, and coupled with the worst start in league history, it was definitely time for a change.
And another thing I would like to add, I truly believe they both lost their teams. Both of these managers lost their teams.
Absolutely.
And in those cases, even if it's a quote-unquote fictional tournament that we're playing, you lose your team, you have to go.
Case in point, let's look at the Silverbacks. We still have the same manager. What if we've won 1 game? I'm just saying, I don't know. I think I'm a bit jaded about our local situation, but yeah, I think that's color in my opinion a little bit. But yeah, I agree. If you think the manager has lost the team and you no longer have trust in your opinion or training, yeah, time for the manager to go. I totally agree. Is it really going to make any difference at this point? Anybody?
Depends on who's the manager.
Oh, yeah, because I believe it's Paul Mariner, isn't it?
That's Toronto manager.
Right.
Is he interim? Is he interim?
I think he probably is taking over.
I think he's actually has the job, which I think is a good move.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know Paul Mariner from his time at the New England Revolution, and basically he was there with Steve Nichols during their most successful period. I believe he was there from 2004 to 2009, and in that time, 3 MLS Cup appearances. They didn't win any of them. That's including back-to-back. Won an Open Cup in 2007, Superliga in 2008. So this is a guy who was, besides that, I think the only other thing he had done as far as being the head guy was Plymouth Argyle, where he was there for, I believe, 1 season and ended up getting them relegated. But in MLS, he's been pretty golden so far. So I'm thinking I'm thinking Toronto probably is going to end up a lot better because of him.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Hey, can I comment quickly on the Aaron Winter one? I just want to kind of touch on the article you wrote about foreign managers and why they're failing in the MLS. And I thought you brought up some good points in the article that was on WFN. And I don't know much about the Peter Nowak situation at the Union, but with Aaron Winter, I wonder, managers like that come in, and this can go for players too. We've talked about this before, but managers that come in, I wonder if they truly understand the structure of what they're coming into. Football is done one way in most of the world, but it's done differently here. If there's not that understanding when you hit the ground here, I think that's when you can start to get a problem like Aaron Winter, because you don't have the same control. There are things that are going to be dictated to you, and if you don't understand that and know how to work with that, then I think it's going to be a real. I mean, look at Ruud Gullit.
Yeah.
When he came in and he thought he was going to do things a certain way at the LA Galaxy, and it just wasn't going to work, you know. And so I think that, was it the right move? Yeah, absolutely. And when you look, this is a results league and everything, but I also have to put a little bit of the blame on the club and the league, because why would you choose somebody to come in and not, one, educate them, get them prepped for a different type of structure so that your team can be the most successful, you know, possible. And so I think on that angle, yeah, he had to go, but I don't blame him 100% for the problems. I think that the club has to take some of the blame, and because the league controls so much with individual teams, I think they have to take a little bit of the blame as to the condition that Toronto's you know, under. Not like I say, I'm not sure about the Philadelphia situation, but and I don't know about the replacement here with, you know, with Paul Mariner, but you know, I think they had to make the move. They were forced to make the move no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for the Philly situation, it was he more lost it. I mean, the Toronto situation was kind of just they were a crappy team. The Philly situation was he just lost a team where gave up fan favorites, gave up the captain. Nobody knew what he was doing, and you know, I don't think the players had any unity within each other, let alone the coach themselves.
So it's kind of a Villas-Boas kind of thing going on there, huh?
Pretty much, kind of nothing was going right, and I don't think Novak cared. That's me saying it. I mean, I can't be in. I don't want him coming after me because he's a big scary man.
He's ruthless. But
also,
there was.
Yeah, I think he listens to this podcast, so you know.
He does. Well, I live in Atlanta. My roommate is Hooligan Broom. His address is.
You don't get the names all mixed up in here. My name is Dre Footy, not Andre. That's right.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me on this. I know it wasn't on my A game, but I appreciate you having me once again. And audience, thank you for listening, and we'll see you later.